Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Chanda Balaba Girivaranari Gopi Chanda Balaba Girivaranari Yashoda Nandana Prajatana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Prajatana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Chanda Balava Girivaranari Yashoda Nandana Prajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're starting the chapter 2 of the 8th canto. The chapter is called The Elephant Gajendra's crisis. And there's a little summary of the chapter, so we'll read that first. Canto 8, Chapter 2. We're on the first verse. As we're on the introduction to the first verse. The second, third, and fourth chapters of this canto describe how the Lord, during the reign of the fourth Manu, gave protection to the king of the elephants. As described in the second chapter, when the king of the elephants, along with his female elephants, was enjoying in the water, a crocodile suddenly attacked him, and the elephant surrendered to the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead for protection. In the midst of the ocean of milk, there is a very high and beautiful mountain that has an altitude of 10,000 yojanas, or 80,000 miles. This mountain is known as Trikuta. In a valley of Trikuta, there is a nice garden named Ritumat, which was constructed by Varuna. And in that area, there is a very nice lake. Once the chief of the elephants, along with the female elephants, went to enjoy bathing in that lake, and they disturbed the inhabitants of the water. Because of this, the chief crocodile in that water, who was very powerful, immediately attacked the elephant's leg. Thus, there ensued a great fight between the elephant and the crocodile. This fight continued for 1,000 years. Neither the elephant nor the crocodile died, but since they were in the water, the elephant gradually became weak, whereas the power of the crocodile increased more and more. Thus, the crocodile became more and more encouraged. Then the elephant, being helpless and seeing that there was no other way for his protection, sought shelter at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, this, I guess this narration about Gajendra is very important because there's 3 whole chapters on it. So we'll chant the Sanskrit. Actually, there's a few. 2 verses without a purport, and then the third one will have a purport. So, Shri Shuka Uvacha Asid Giri Varo Rajans Trikuta iti Vishrutaha Shirodena Vrita Shriman Yojana Yutam Ushritaha Shri Shuka Uvacha Asid Giri Varo Rajans Trikuta iti Vishrutaha Shirodena Vrita Shriman Yojanayutam Utritaha Shri Shuka Uvacha Asid Girivaro Rajans Trikuta iti Vishvutaha Shirodena Vrita Sriman Yojana Yutam Utritaha Shri Sukha Uvacha Asid Girivaro Rajans Trikuta iti Vishvutaha Shirodena Vritak Sriman Yojana Yuta Utritaha Shri Sukha Uvacha Asid Girivaro Rajans Trikuta iti Vishvutaha Shirodena Vrita Sriman Yojana Yuta Utritaha Shri Shuka Uvacha Shri Shukadev Goswami said, Asit, there was Girivara, a very big mountain. Rajan, O king. Trikutaha, Trikuta. Iti, thus, Vishvutaha, celebrated. Shira Udena, by the ocean of milk. Avritaha, surrounded. Shriman, very beautiful. Yojana, a measurement of 8 miles. Ayutam, 10,000. Utritaha, very high. Translation. Shukadeva Goswami said, my dear king, there was a very large mountain called Trikuta. It is 10,000 yojanas, or 80,000 miles high. Being surrounded by the ocean of milk, it is very beautifully situated. Repeat after me. Shukadeva Goswami said, my dear king, there is a very large mountain called Trikuta. It is 10,000 yojanas, 80,000 miles high, being surrounded by the ocean of milk. It is very beautifully situated. The next one also doesn't have a purport. I'll just read the translation. The length and breadth of the mountain are of the same measurement, 80,000 miles. Its 3 principal peaks, which are made of iron, silver, and gold, beautify all directions and the sky. The mountain also has other peaks, which are full of jewels and minerals, and are decorated with nice trees, creepers, and shrubs. The sounds of the waterfalls on the mountain create a pleasing vibration. In this way, the mountain stands, increasing the beauty of all directions. And next translation. The ground at the foot of the mountain is always washed by the waves of milk that produce emeralds all around in the 8 directions: north, south, east, west, and the directions midway between them. Okay, northeast, southeast. Purport. From Srimad-bhagavatam, we understand that there are various oceans. Somewhere there is an ocean filled with milk. Somewhere an ocean of liquor, an ocean of ghee, an ocean of oil, and an ocean of sweet water. Thus, there are different varieties of oceans within the universe. The modern scientists, who have only limited experience, cannot defy these statements. They cannot give us full information about any planet, even the planet on which we live. From this verse, however, we can understand that if the valleys of some mountains are washed with milk, from this verse, however, we can understand that if the valleys of some mountains are washed with milk, this produces emeralds. No one has the ability to imitate the activities of the material nature as conducted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The translation again. The ground at the foot of the mountain is always washed by the waves of milk that produce emeralds emeralds all around in the 8 directions: north, south, east, west, and the directions midway between them. Om Jnana Timirandasha Jnana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Well, so Srimad-bhagavatam is amazing. If we just accept it as truth, if you accept it as a storybook, then it's still amazing. But if you accept it as everything at face value, it's extraordinary. So here we're seeing a description on the ocean of milk, or where the ocean of milk is situated. First of all, this mountain. It is 10,000 yojanas high. A yojana is about 8 miles. 10,000 yojanas. I mean, we have a mountain that's 1 mile, 2 miles high. Some exceptionally high mountains, and it seems like wow. But here's something that's not only 1 or 2 miles high. It's a mountain that is 10,000 yojanas, 80,000 miles. That's like an outer space. I mean, if it was on Earth, it'd be up into outer space. You could actually walk into outer space. But this is not. But this, of course, this is outer space. This is another way outside of our realm. And at this place, it was not an ocean of salt water, or not even sweet water. It's actually milk. Can you imagine? I guess, of course, in here, if you had so much milk, it would say, well, okay, that's nice, but it would be spoiled and sour and all that after no time. But I'm sure in this place, there's no mention of milk spoiling and going rancid like that. So it's actually a very wonderful place, an ocean of milk, waves and everything, but only milk. And not only that, when this milk from the waves of this ocean go up on the land, and in contact with the land, it produces jewels. Emerald specifically is mentioned here. So But this is a higher planet. It's an extraordinary place. There's and if we look in the Srimad-bhagavatam later on, well, not actually later on, previously, the fifth canto. Fifth canto of Srimad-bhagavatam, there's a chapter about the structure of the universe, how planets are situated, how far away the different planets are, what size the planets are, and so on like that, and they are and certain characteristics of some of the planets. There's on some planets, I think even the moon is described like this. There's a kind of like what you would call a cold fire. You usually have you have the brightness of fire. It looks like fire. It burns like fire. In a sense, but actually there's no heat. And this kind of fire, or something similar to that, can actually be produced in a laboratory on this planet. I don't know the details of it. I'm not a chemist or a physicist, but I've read about it. There's a certain way of doing it. It looks like fire, but you could put your hand in the middle of it, and it's not hot. It's just that, but otherwise it has the characteristics of fire. So these are such places. So it makes a planet like that very bright, effulgent, but it's not hot like that. And then we also hear from the Srimad-bhagavatam the distance of certain planets, including the moon, our moon. So according to the Srimad-bhagavatam, the moon is not, how far they say it is, the scientists, 250,000 miles or something like that, 240,000 miles. It takes 3 days to get there by rocket. But actually, the Srimad-bhagavatam says no, it's much farther than that. It's I don't know the exact numbers. It's actually beyond the sun. It's farther away than the sun, and it's larger than the sun. The moon is, according to Srimad-bhagavatam. It's very far away, and then so we think we wonder, oh, what about a solar eclipse? When supposedly the solar eclipse, what's happening, modern science, is that the moon is come in line between the moon comes between the earth and the sun, and you're not seeing the sun for a moment. But what is actually happening, according to Srimad-bhagavatam, is the Rahu planet, which is a dark planet. It has no reflection at all. The light does not reflect off of it at all. It's called a dark planet. And that Rahu planet actually comes in between the Earth and the Sun, and at exactly that same time, the Sun is exactly the same time that Rahu is going between us and the sun. The moon is actually going directly behind the sun. It's not going in front, but you can't tell the difference. It's all lining up, and all of a sudden the moon disappears, and we assume that it's blocking the sun, but actually something else is blocking the sun. This is Srimad-bhagavatam. And because of this, on that basis, primarily on that basis, Srila Prabhupada, who was in America, just about the time that he kind of came in America maybe a year before the first American person is said to have gone on the moon, right? I was just, how old I was at the time. I was a teenager. For me, that was like a really exciting thing. I was listening on the radio, using my father's big tape recorder. They're all big things in those days, and I recorded the whole thing. His is historic, but Srila Prabhupada, he was watching it on TV with the early early followers in New York, and they're saying they're going on to the moon. And Srila Prabhupada said no, they did not. It's not possible, and he explained they did not. They could not go to the moon. For one thing, the moon is farther away than the sun. The Vedic understanding of where the sun is about right. It's about 93 million miles away, and the moon is way farther away than the sun, according to the Srimad-bhagavatam. So Srila Prabhupada says there's no way they're going to travel for 3 days and get to the moon. And where they actually went, I'm not certain. Srila Prabhupada suggested maybe they landed on Rahu. Maybe. But he didn't really go into it too much. So they went to, but they could not actually go to the moon. And also the moon is a heavenly planet. It's a heavenly planet, as also is the sun. The sun is a heavenly planet. The moon's a heavenly planet, and we don't really have the karma. We're on this planet. We don't really have karma that you can just like force your way in by rockets. So no way that someone is going to fly forcibly into moon atmosphere onto the moon, really. So there's a lot of things being said out there in the world, but it's also interesting to note that after a few years and they said a few times landing on the moon, when things started getting real controversial because a lot of people have a lot of doubts, then for 50 years nobody even talked about going to the moon. Now they're again talking about, now we got to go back to the moon. Why did they stop if they actually were going in the first place? So anyway, the best thing is to take the knowledge from the perfect source, the Srimad-bhagavatam, and then we will not be disappointed. The modern scientists who have only limited experience cannot defy these statements. Srila explains about the different kinds of oceans. So someone might say, well, that's not possible. It's not like but they can't prove otherwise because they actually don't have knowledge of it. And as we bring up many times in these classes, this is deductive knowledge. Means we're taking perfect knowledge and we're just accepting it rather than taking no knowledge and trying to figure it out. Try to figure it out with imperfect senses, you're going to have imperfect knowledge. Imperfect senses, tendency to cheat, like that. Tendency to be an illusion, so many things. So we're not going to get perfect knowledge from. We're not going to get perfect knowledge by trying to just figure it out. We have to surrender to Guru. We have to surrender to accepting the scriptures, the Shastra. So, and of course, Srila Prabhupada says, no one has the ability to imitate the activities of the material nature as conducted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We cannot do it. And one point, which is indirectly related to this, and I think it's important, because we're always talking about how we work together, we cooperate with each other, and then that way things go on. Prabhupada says your love for me will be tested. He says, after I leave, your love for me will be tested with how well you have cooperated with each other in carrying on this mission, right? So, when meditation, we may call it, say, that where we can actually think about how we are, whether we want to, how anything that we've accomplished, anything that's been accomplished within ISKCON, just as a keeping that scope, it has no one can say that I did everything, or everything I'm doing is just on me. Whatever we've accomplished, there have been many devotees, who've been involved. So, for example, someone may dress the deities. We dress the deities in the morning or at night. I'll say in the morning for this example. We dress the deities, and someone might open the curtains and, wow, you really dressed the deities beautifully. Okay. If someone says that to me, I say, okay, well, yeah, I dressed the deities, but I just did the last part of it. The last part. And what is that last part? Last part is where you put on the dress and the jewelry, the flower garland, the crowns. So that's the last part. But in reality, because it's this other thing, someone might say, isn't that everything? Right? No, it's not everything. Because I may be dressing the deities, and I may be putting these on. I did not make the flower garlands. I did not make the outfit. I didn't make the jewelry. I didn't even buy the jewelry. So that's right there. Others have been involved. More, maybe just immediately, day before, or maybe we have jewelry from the deities that were made by devotees, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, like that. So there, and how many devotees were involved? Jai Shri Gaur Nitai, Shri Radha, Braja Bihari, Jagannath, Balaram, Lady Subhadra, Vajra Shingade, Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. So in that way, whatever service we do, there's so many others who were involved. And going on to the same example, I may have dressed the deities, but I didn't build the altar that they're on. I may have had a little tiny part, give a donation or something to get it, but it means there were probably hundreds of devotees who were involved like that. I don't maintain the temple by myself. I do have a little part, but without the temple, there wouldn't be an altar there. And you can go on and on back and get more and more in detail. So overall, it's not one person dressing those deities. It's maybe several hundreds of devotees who directly or indirectly. So in that way, it's all arranged. So we have to work together to do anything as far as anything in life. And it's not just here within Krishna consciousness; it's the whole society, whole world's like that. Someone may have a job of typing the manuscript for a book, typing on a computer. But I bet they didn't invent the computer. The same thing is there all the way through. And ultimately, the ability to do these things comes from Lord Krishna, of course, and the materials that were used comes from Lord Krishna, And if we're practicing Krishna consciousness, the knowledge that we are supposed to be doing these things in the service of Lord Krishna comes, of course, from Lord Krishna and through the cyclical succession. So it's like that. We're going on. There's no room to be proud that I have done so much anywhere, because we're all dependent on each other, and ultimately we're dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's given us this opportunity, who's given us the intelligence, who's given us the knowledge why we should be doing what we're doing, like that. So this is the meditation. It applies for every service and, practically speaking, everything that is done in a material society. So rather than trying to put someone down, either here or outside, we should see how to work together for the common goal. Of course, the material world, it doesn't really work that way, but there is the Vaikuntha consciousness, then it is that way. In fact, even in the spiritual world, it's like that. It's like in Lord Krishna and his eternal pastimes in the spiritual world. Krishna is the center, and Radharani's Krishna's most important devotee. She has more love for Krishna than anyone, and so, but unlike the material world, there's no one is envious there. No, there's no envy. No one's thinking, why is Radharani in that? Why is Radharani getting the chance to see Krishna all the time? Get her out of the way so I can, I want to get in there. No, everyone knows. Everyone wants to please Krishna. Everyone who's in the spiritual world, everyone wants to please Lord Krishna, and everyone knows. And in Radha Krishna pastimes, everyone knows that Radharani is the most pleasing to Krishna. So rather than trying to do the envious thing, which is you tear this one down and criticize this one and push them, step on somebody, get them out of the way so I can go up, I push them else down. That doesn't happen in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, the mood is Radharani is most pleasing to Krishna. So everyone is thinking or at least all the gopis are thinking, how can I assist Radharani or assist somebody who is assisting Radharani? How can I do that? Because I know that Krishna will be happy. And the goal is what will make Lord Krishna happy. And if Lord Krishna is happy, then everyone is happy because they want to see that he is happy. And Radharani, actually, she feels the same way too. She says, Radharani's statement is that even if there is some other gopi that is more pleasing to Krishna than me, or who can make Krishna more happy than me, I will become her maidservant and assist her in her service to Krishna, so that Krishna will be happy. So that's her mood. And of course, the others are also thinking the same way. But of course, they know that Radharani is his favorite because that's the way it is. But there's no one fighting against that arrangement. They're all just very peacefully and excitedly working together, serving together to do something so that Krishna will be pleased, happy with them. That's so. But we can, we're still conditioned, so it doesn't always work that way here. But that's the way it should work. Devotees are supposed to encourage others to do service, and you push everyone else up, and of course then you get pushed up, and that way Lord Krishna is very, very pleased with with everyone, and everyone becomes very happy like that. That's the Vaikuntha mood. We shouldn't be like, what's the example? Crabs in a barrel. crab. You put a bunch of crabs in a barrel. Of course, they're trying to get out. So one starts to get a hold of something and starts pulling itself out of that barrel. Another one's going to grab the one who's getting up, pull them down, and try to get on top of them and get out. So, but we should not be like that. We should not be thinking, how can I pull someone else down so I can get up? The actual process is you put somebody else up, and then you go up yourself. I mean, we are lifted up by helping others go up. And so, in terms of Krishna consciousness and preaching Krishna consciousness, we just always should be just always trying to encourage each other to be Krishna conscious, to do our devotional service to the Lord, and you encourage others in their devotional service, and by doing that, then we also get elevated by trying to put others up. Srila Prabhupada said that, actually he wrote to me, this was in a letter, I was having some challenges my first year in the movement, and we had our it's called Transcendental Competition, Sankirtan competition. So everyone in the temple was going out trying to sell some books. I think there were 16 of us in the Gainesville temple in those days, at that moment. And we all went out, but I was always, in our competition, I was always number 16. I was always the last one as far as distributing books. I had a hard time with it. But the preaching then, which was not perfect, the preaching then was, you want to please, they're saying the only way you could please Srila Prabhupada was going out and selling books. And the more books you could sell, then the more he would be happy. That wasn't exactly correct, but that was, everyone was new. This is only like 5 years after the beginning of ISKCON when this was happening. So it was not everything was preached exactly right. But the preaching was going on like that you want to become, you want to please Srila Prabhupada, you sell books. And if you sell more books, you please him more. And if you sell less books, then he's not happy with you. So I was thinking, how am I going to become Krishna conscious if I can't please my spiritual master? And that anyone can be in last place in a competition, you just don't do anything. So and our results for Sankirtan were being sent to Srila Prabhupada, I think, every week. So 50 books there, 20 books there, Dharmic, maybe one book, like that. So I was thinking like that. So I was concerned, and I was feeling feeling unhappy about that. So I wrote to Srila Prabhupada. I told him my concern. I wasn't disturbed that the others were doing well, but I was thinking, how can I please you, Srila Prabhupada? If you're only pleased with my selling how many books we sell, then I'm not doing very well. And anyway, he wrote back a few weeks later. His letter finally caught up with me. He was traveling all the time, so maybe it took a few weeks for him to get my letter, like that. But he wrote back, and he said a few good things in the letter. He said that first of all, he said transcendental competition is good, but it should not make us lose our Krishna consciousness. So I was feeling a little frustrated. So he was addressing that, and then he gave the example. He actually said, and he said that the main thing is that we serve Krishna the best we can. Krishna's not so concerned. He says Krishna's not so much concerned with what we give but with how much we are keeping back for ourselves. The main thing is that we serve Krishna the best we can, which actually really meant a lot for me, because I was always kind of like I was never extraordinary anything. So 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 the Srila Prabhupada says that you do the best you can do, and Krishna sees that what Krishna is seeing is, okay, this person has this ability to do this much. How much are they using that ability in my service, and how much are they just keeping it back and using that ability for their own sense gratification? See, so I was trying to give everything, I just didn't have much to give, like that. So that was very important for me, that instruction, and this kind of like stayed with me for my whole Krishna conscious life. There's only one letter I got from Srila Prabhupada, but it was a personal instruction like that. But it was very important, because I can always feel confident that as long as I'm doing my best, and I know what my best, I know what I can do, then Krishna will be pleased, because I'm giving everything I can give. And then what Krishna says, he says, I will preserve what you have and supply what you lack. So that also meant that we may not have much in terms of ability, but what we don't have, if we're giving everything that we can give, then Krishna will carry the other part, and so we can still do something extraordinary like that. Srila Prabhupada certainly gave everything that he had in Krishna's service, and he did the impossible. He came here at Srila Prabhupada. He came to America. So wait. Yeah. Oh. Okay. Yes. If he came to America, has so many challenges getting to the United States, so many challenges on the ship, heart attacks and so on. So many challenges once he got to America, but he was giving everything. He was 100% surrendered to Krishna, and giving everything he could as far as spreading the Krishna consciousness movement. So materially, you could say he had a lot of challenges, but he was very determined to give everything. And what happened, Krishna carried what he lacked. Krishna gave him the intelligence, the words to write in the books. He gave him the words to speak in all his preaching. He could speak perfect preaching for everyone. He just made things move forward in ISKCON. I mean, ISKCON developed because Srila Prabhupada was giving everything that he had, and Krishna carried what he lacked in that sense. So the same thing for us. I mean, he's doing it anyway, but we can also do some extra. If we have that faith and we continue on this path, then Krishna will certainly also carry it individually and collectively, carry what we lack, which means we can do extraordinary things that we as a non-devotee maybe we would never have attempted, but we can do something extraordinary in Krishna's service if we have that desire, and if the desire is actually something pleasing to the Lord, and we give everything, then he almost magically, but it's not really magic. It's just Krishna's blessings. He will carry what we didn't have, and he'll make the activity successful. He's doing it all the time. Sometimes devotees go out and sell books, and they're so much eager. They're so much eager to go out and do the best they can do in devotional service, and they sell hundreds of books, big books sometimes, uh, you know, which would be like who can go out and sell hundreds of spiritual books to people who are not really interested in spiritual life. But if someone has a sincere desire and they're giving everything they can give, Krishna will provide to do that. Some devotees become very expert in music, in Krishna conscious music. Some become very expert in cooking for Krishna, or dressing the deities, or sometimes management of the temple or like that. If someone's totally into it, then Krishna will help. What we're lacking, he will give that ability. He does it. Any other points here? Well, maybe that's all I'll speak. Would you like any questions, comments?
So many great points. I was really completely about the movie. I get other couple of things completely to me. Studios. It was very interesting to get involved in set art.
A little louder.
I didn't know if Ron was another planet, what planet was the first time I had to hear about it. So that was interesting, something different. And also, that reminder that, she preserves what we have and gives all that we have. It makes it happen, as long as we can try and give her all. It's karma, so that he knows if we're not getting it or holding something. And it reminds me that we can't be misers in Krishna consciousness. We need to give out Krishna to everyone in whatever way that we can, naturally inspire people and bring people to Krishna. I think in yesterday's classes, we don't want to just go to God by ourselves. We want to bring as many people as we can with us.
Yes.
It was a wonderful reminder and lesson.
And our ability to go back to Godhead is largely based on how much we are going to help others to go back to Godhead. I mean, that's the key. It's the Sankirtan movement, right? Sankirtan movement. So our whole point of Sankirtan movement is giving Krishna consciousness to others, and by doing that, then we naturally become Krishna conscious and go back. There's no one more pleasing to Krishna than who is preaching about Krishna consciousness. That's how we. So there's no one more dear, and anyone who's really participating in this Krishna consciousness movement, maybe not necessarily out on the front lines, but supporting those who are on the front lines. Anyone like that we're all connected to the preaching movement, and that way we can all become Krishna conscious and go back to Godhead. That's right.
Another great point is when we were mentioning, about the duties that, somebody will compliment me. You dress the duties so wonderfully, and so many hands went in it. It's something that we don't naturally think about with everything, but it was, again, a great lesson and reminder that as a collective, as Krishna consciousness movement is a collective collaboration for all of us. In life in general, but especially Krishna consciousness, this is always collaborating, working, participating together.
Yes. Which is like the mentality.
Yes. Mentality.
So that we're trying to do. We are practicing. This is sadhana bhakti. We're practicing to develop the mentality that we will have and must have in the spiritual world. Right? That's what it's all about. And when we actually perfect that, then we're in the spiritual world. Even if we're here, even if physically we're still here at the time, but we're in that mentality, then for all practical purposes, we're in the spiritual world, because when we're perfected, then we'll realize our eternal relationship with Krishna, and we'll be in the spiritual world, even though physically here.
I was on the other side, I missed a lot of the lecture, but I did pick up a few points. I think when you mentioned about the importance of the Srimad-bhagavatam, how it's important for us to hear this every day, or read it, which is the importance of it. And I was thinking, is it so important for us to hear it? Because Prabhupada said everything that we need to know is in the Srimad-bhagavatam. And it's also said that everything that we really need to know is in the first three cantos as well. So this is our, if there's any difficulty, if any of us are having difficulty with our, with Shraddha, with our faith in Krishna, we can always fall back on the Srimad-bhagavatam. The other point I wanted to make was on, I don't know if I only caught a little bit of this, but the fact that I guess it was something in the relationship that we're not the doers. Even if something is created very beautifully, we can't sit back and hide ourselves in the bag and say that, because it took so much to go into that. I think of that when I'm on the altar sometimes, or, the fact that every little aspect of a finished product takes more than just one hand. I mean, even if you are painting and you're doing a painting all by yourself and you do it, personal liability, everything that it takes for you to even start that painting comes from God, comes from Krishna. Even the concept, the ability to do that comes from Krishna. Because there are people who would love to be able to reproduce that, but because Krishna hasn't given them that ability, they're not able to produce a painting as well as someone else. So everything that we have comes from Krishna. This should be this really understanding about it. I remember in relation to that, when I was a kid and growing up in New York, there was this one baseball player, and he was, he was pitching so many amazing games. He had so many no-hitters, and he was just on a roll. And everybody, was praising him, and of course his salary's going to go up, he's going to get commercial, everything was going away. And all of a sudden, he did everything the same way, but he started going down. He couldn't produce like he was prior to, when he was, having all these wonderful games. And he realized, because he made a statement, he said, I don't know how many people caught it. When he was interviewed, they were asking him, what's the reason for your slump? What's going on? And he says, I don't know. He says, I have a habit. I wear the same socks every time. I do the same ritual before I go out there every game. So he was explaining what it took, all the things that he did that he was able, and they didn't work. He did all those things, but it didn't work. And he says, I just realized there's something higher. Actually made this statement. It says that, it's the hand of God. It says, God gives me that ability to play like this, and if God takes it away, it's really nothing I can do. So he said something wrong, and that reminded me also.
Yes.
As a child, I heard this. And we could hear athletes now praying before when they get a goal, or singers that go on there. Because some of them do have the realization and the understanding that it's not about that. And all the ability, everything comes from God, and that's the way it should be. Giving back and more reverence to God. Because without that, we would have nothing.
That's right. Yeah. And just like when see, was it Dhruva Maharaj or was it Narada Muni's previous life? One of them anyway. I forget. Maybe both of them applied. Dhruva Maharaj for sure. He was performing his austerities for 6 months, very intensely, and he saw and the Lord appeared in his heart, and he was very happy actually seeing God now in his meditation. And then all of a sudden, he was gone in his meditation, and he tried to do whatever he had to do to get it back. You know, you meditate, close your eyes, half close your eyes. I got it before. I got to get it back there. He couldn't. But then the Lord, I think that was actually Narada Muni who did in his previous lifetime. So he couldn't. And then and then the Lord spoke to him. He didn't see him, but he spoke. And I've said, I've shown you this, I've given you this, so that now you have to dedicate your whole life to serving me, and in that way you'll come back to me. He gave him a taste, like that. But he said, now you got to work for it. So like that. So nothing that we have, no ability that we have, no realization that we have, comes without. It all comes from the Supreme Lord, ultimately. It all comes from the Supreme Lord. He gives us everything, He gives everyone everything, really, in the world. He gives everyone. Anyone who has any ability has come from God. And those who are fortunate understand that. And those who are not fortunate think that I'm really big, I'm really expert. I've been playing, concert piano since I was 3 years old. I must be a really special person. But if they have that, they're probably also realize that if I got this ability, I must have gotten it from someone else, because how can a 3-year-old kid sit down and already be playing these kind of things, or be expert in something that people would spend 20, 30, 40 years of concentrated endeavor to come to, but they're born with it practically, because it's been given to them, yes, and it's been given to them because of maybe there's some past pious activities that have some certain ability, and it's the Lord in the heart that has reminded them of what their desire was previously, and there was one musician. There was one person who was, I can't remember which one it was, Beethoven, Mozart. One of them has mentioned in his history that he wrote so many pieces, musical pieces, and he said, I'm not creating these. This is not coming from me. I'm just hearing it, and I'm just writing it down, writing the music down. I'm hearing it from. So where he's hearing it from, I don't know. Maybe he was a demigod, and somehow that he came with that birth. He still remembers something that was on the higher planets, or I don't know exactly, but he was hearing it somehow, and he was just writing it down. So he was realizing it's coming from somewhere else, and I'm just giving it. So that's actually the case with everyone on some level or another. We're all receiving whatever we have, whatever ability we have, whatever knowledge we have. If someone's born and has a 180 IQ of 180, or has an IQ of about 100, which is about where I am at right now. It is just kind of really average. But whatever we have is carried over from some previous life. Someone may be born in a family of, from their time they're this big, they're thinking, I want to be a doctor when I grow up. They already decided, and maybe their father and their grandfather and their great grandfather and their great great grandfather were all doctors, and they come with that desire, and they're really intelligent, and they can, medical science is pretty intense, it's pretty complicated unless you've got a good brain. But they have that desire, they have the ability, it comes with that body, but that's there. That's just karma. But if they're fortunate, then they'll realize that it's not me. I mean, I couldn't do anything except God has given me this ability. And if they understand God has given me this ability, then they should be thinking, how can I use this ability in the service of God? Which is unfortunately a lot of people don't do this. They don't get that. They don't get that realization. Which means in the end, if they may have so much ability, but if they live their life in a sinful way, then they may not even get a human life the next time. So so we should always, at least we here should never forget that whatever ability we were born with, whatever ability we seem to develop, it's coming from Krishna, and we need to see how we can best use that in the Lord's service. That's the point. Any other questions, comments? Okay, so it's my clock is off. It's 8:50, which I think we have to stop anyway. So thank you for coming to class, everyone. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srimad-bhagavatam Ki Jai. Oh, somebody sent a message. Hare Krishna, one thing that I found is a terminology caught in the moment. For example, when someone does something, there may be a tendency to think that one is the doer. How can one prevent oneself from becoming excessively proud? Okay, how do you, I explained this in the beginning of the class. Hare Krishna. I explained this in the beginning of the class. It's just like we gave the example of the someone addresses the deities, then we may do the service nicely, but we should remember that I cannot do this service. I cannot dress the deities. Somebody else made the garland, someone else made the jewelry, someone else made the altar, and so many things that had to be in place. So my part is in dressing deities. In this example, is very small. It's just one little piece in the whole program. So if we remember how so many others, and ultimately Lord Krishna has given that ability to do this, then that will keep us from becoming excessively proud, because we'll remember our real position. I hope that helps. But now it's getting late, so we just need to end the stream. Thank you everyone for coming.